Time to go through all of my Dobyns rods that I took out of the Camus. Check them out, see where they're at, if anything's fixed. But we're just going to do a rod reel inventory. So let's dig in. These are all tournament tested, what I use for tournaments. So take a listen, enjoy. We are in the process of going through the rods and reels. Wintertime project down here in the basement where it's warm. It's too cold to do it out in the Slamus right now. We're going to definitely break this into multi-parts. There'll be a playlist at the end. There's a playlist down in the description if you want to check out the rest of the videos. But we are going to start with the spinning rods today because the spinning rods seem to be all the rage with all the minnows shaking and front-facing sonar, and finesse seems to be a big player in all of bass fishing. We've got 8 spinning rod combos that I'm going to show you here. We're going to start with the lightest action and work towards the heavier actions, break and do what I use all of them for. Now you're going to notice these are all Dobyns rods, but listen to what I'm talking about. Even if you're not a Dobyns fan or never planning on getting a Dobyns or don't want to fish Dobyns, there's good information on how I choose these actions, how these rods are selected for tournament fishing. Leave questions down in the comments below. I'll definitely follow up on all of them, maybe inspire some follow-up videos. I also put links to these rods and some of these reels, and as much as I can, down in the description so you don't have to worry about feverishly writing down notes and that kind of stuff. So there'll be links to Omni Fishing for most of these rods. So number 1 is a Dobyns Sierra Series 701 SF. So Sierra 701 stands for 7 foot 0 inches 1 power rod, described as a light fast action 8 to 3/8 ounce. So a 701 is a pretty light action rod for bass. And I definitely, this borderlines on crappies, multi-species, walleye, bass. But mostly as a bass setup, I use this as, basically, think about it as fishing crappie baits for bass, right? So the tiny, like Great Lakes finesse stuff, the small minnows, micro chatterbaits in the spring, super small crankbaits. The Sierra has a really nice moderate action, a good tip for throwing those light baits, but there's definitely enough backbone to be catching good sized bass. So paired up with a Tatula 3000, slightly older model Daiwa Tatula 3000. Most all these are going to probably have like a 10, 12 pound braid to a light fluorocarbon leader. All the Sierras, split grips, cork, micro bass baits for the most part on this 701 Sierra. Also small hair jigs. So small hair jigs, minnows, little tiny like 2.8s, any of that kind of stuff. If it looks like it could be a crappie bait, but you're fishing bass, 701 Sierra. All right, we got 2 of these coming up, and a lot of these can be interchangeable. So we're starting with a 712 Caden, and you'll notice I like rod covers on all my rods. I get way more rods in my rod locker. They don't tangle up. It protects the guides. It protects the tips. It's a good investment. It's great for carrying around when you got to transport them. So I highly recommend getting some kind of rod cover for your rods. I like to color match them so they're easier to pick out in my rod locker. So 712, this one's got a minnow on it. I actually bought 2 of these this year, essentially for front-facing sonar minnow type applications, especially going out to Lake St. Clair. So this 712, it's got a 3000 older Shimano CI4 size 3000 spinning reel. You'll notice that almost all these reels are 3000 or 4000 size. I like the bigger spools for many reasons. I like more manageable line on the spool, longer casts. The drags seem to work a little bit better on the bigger. I think the balance is better with them. Overall, I like all of that. 712 is a 7 foot 1 inch 2 power rod. 2 power rods for me are minnows, Neds, small swim baits, exposed hook drop shots, that kind of stuff, right? Light wire exposed hooks is what I like a 2 power rod for. Now all these systems are based on a braid to fluoro type leader system. Give you a little glimpse at the action here. We're not gonna do any kind of full rod bends. I'll just give you, most of these rods are gonna have a pretty light tip, but then they get into the backbone. Good balance of sensitivity. Under $200, I think, as a bottom contact rod, the Caden series is really good. The red combo looks super good with some of these like Fuego and CI4 black and red reels. Pretty good minnow shaking rod. Caught quite a few fish at St. Clair. You see that I've got like a little extra Velcro wrap, and I'll put a link down in the description. You can get these on Amazon pretty cheap, but it's another option for me if I don't want to use this hook hanger, or if I want to like wrap a drop shot and tuck it in there. The weight, these are really nice extra little bait keeper additions to your rod that add just a few cents. and you can get them in lots of colors to match your rods. Again, 10 or 12 pound braid, probably an 8-pound leader, 10-pound leader on most of these setups. A mirrored image, another Cadence 712, medium light, fast action, 1/8 ounce to 1/2 ounce on this one. Similar thing, size 4,000. This one's got a Daiwa Ballistic 4,000 on it. I've got kind of a pink braid here. I think this is like 832, but similar, like 10, 12 pound braid. This one I actually got a backup drop shot on, but I definitely will use this one for, you know, the same thing, right? Minnows, drop shots, Neds, small swim baits. To me, it's important to have several 2-power rods to do a lot of different finesse techniques if you don't want to retie a lot. Got the other Velcro strap on that. Actually, I lied. I have 3 Cadence 712s. So one of them I had for a while, 2 I bought this year for extra options for minnowing. This one's got a net on it, but you'll see another 4,000 Daiwa Tatula, pretty much the same setup. Got the little strap in case I want to put a drop shot weight on there. A lot of repetition, just want to have a lot of different options of quality rods for finessing different applications. If you get on a bite like St. Clair where you've got multiple minnows, multiple drop shots, backup rods, things like that, when it's heavy finesse, you're going to want multiple setups. I don't always bring all these setups in the boat with me all the time. Sometimes I pull a few out if I know I'm not doing a lot of finessing. Moving on from the Cadence, we're stepping up to the Champion, the old black and blue. This is pre-XP. This is old. This is probably older than my second child. Got a little blue Velcro strap. It's a split handle. There's a little keeper down here. It's cork handle. So a 702 Champion, so 7-foot 2-power, medium light action, 1/8 ounce to 1/2 ounce, right? To me, this is weird that this has a drop shot on it. It's actually because I had a malfunction on another rod where I broke it, my own fault, and had to bring this in as a drop shot rod. This almost all the time has a net on it for me. Like, this is, for whatever reason, the action feels just right. Love this for nets. It's, like I said, this is the old graphic styling on the Dobyns. This is 10, 12, 15-year-old rod. It's probably caught who knows how many bass. We might be, you know, definitely hundreds and hundreds. We could be talking maybe 1,000 bass by this time. How many that's? Give you a little, you know, a lot of these 2-power action rods are going to have similar actions, similar setup. This one's got an older 3,000 size Procyon. At the time, the Procyons were a little bigger. This actually is a lot more like the 4,000 size reels. For whatever reason, I love this old Procyon and this old, it just feels right. Another thing this one's got is this little Fuji keeper here, and you'll see this on some of my rods. It's another nice little addition. If your rods don't have bait keepers, or they don't have the bait keepers where you want them, this is a nice, like, $1 addition. I'll put a link down in the description. You can grab it at Omnia. There's actually a lot of people that buy these, put them on their rods in different places. It's just with some little rubber bands. It doesn't leave any marks, and you can put them wherever you want on the rod. It's a nice little addition. This one's got the Missile Magic Warp on it. That was a big producer for sure. This one's been through the trenches, and I love it. I'll be sad if I ever have to exercise the warranty on this old girl here. Now we're getting a little bougier. This is probably my favorite spinning rod I own. This is the DX742 SF, so Champion Extreme. I had an older one, broke it. My fault, wasn't on a fish, like got stuck in a rod locker, jammed it in, something like that. So this is a newer one. I actually just broke this one in Grand Lake, Oklahoma, and that's why there was a drop shot on the Champion Extreme. So I can't really show you the bend because I broke the last 3 inches off, and it was my fault. It was hung on a dock cable. I set it down. It was out of the water, and I went to make another cast on that rod, and I like hooked it and snapped it, and so it was totally my fault. Nothing about the quality of the rod. So I like the full cork for the balance, a little bit longer rod. So this is 7'4" 2-power. So to me, a 2-power is still a drop shot rod. And this one almost always has a drop shot all the time. Again, 4,000. This is a newer Daiwa Tatula monocoque. Enjoying this reel a lot. Similar setup. You'll see these bright color braids on just about all of them. Also got the little Fuji keeper here, so I got options for whether I wrap I can wrap the drop shot here. I can trap the hook here. A lot of options for hook options. And what I use it for. But love this rod. Great smallie rod, a tube rod, drop shot rod, swimmer rod, a little more length, a little more control on long casts. For whatever reason, I just feel like I hook a lot of fish on this rod on drop shot, and I rarely lose them. Just that longer parabolic bend, that 7'4", 2 inches. It's a sweet spot for me. Love, love, love this rod. But these 2-power rods, that's the nice thing, Dobyns, like that 2-power Dobyns rod being a Ned, drop shot, small swim bait, etc. price points. You can go all the way down to the Fury, and you can go all the way up to the Extreme or Ecstasy and find something for you. You can see I use them up and down the whole way. Now this rod here has probably caught the second most amount behind the Champion, just because of its age has probably caught the most. But this one, since I've got it, has probably caught more fish. This is the Dobyns Fury 703. So now we're jumping up to the 3 power, so still a 7-foot even 3 power rod in the Fury series. So this is like a $120 rod. You know, 3/16 to 5/8 ounce, medium fast action. Again, bigger 4,000 size reel. Like this is a Daiwa Fuego, so we got like, you know, just over a $200 combo here. This for me mostly is a Texas Rig Senko, Wacky Rig Senko, dock skipping rod. So I'm going to run a little bit heavier. So I'll go like 20 to 30 pound braid on this rod, because sometimes I want to skip the leader potentially in really heavy cover or thick cover or dirty water. But usually we're talking, you know, 20, 30 pound braid to anywhere from a 10 up to like a 16, 18 pound leader. You can see a little bit stiffer action here. Not, the tip is definitely not as light, more backbone, which is what you want, shallow cover. Now, the Fury is still plenty sensitive, but you don't need that ultra sensitive rod, because you're going to see the braid jump. Typically, you're going to see your line move, right? You're up close, you're skipping, shallow. You don't necessarily need that super uber sensitivity for, you know, skipping a wacky rig around shallow cover. Now this is one of the few that I will run a darker braid, and that is if I want to forego the leader. I don't have a bright green, bright pink. I got a more natural mossy colored braid for that. Hybrid cork EVA foam keeps the cost down on some of these more entry-level rods. You still got the great balance, still a good looking rod. Catch a ton of fish on this. I mean, this is one of the more inexpensive spinning rod combos I have, and I catch hundreds of fish every year because of Wacky Rig Senko is such a great catcher. And like I said, I use this for wacky rigs, but you could use this for jig worms, shaky heads, Texas rig drop shots, a little bit bigger, like 3.8 tight swim baits. You know, when you start to get a love that super light wire hook into that medium wire, you know, you can throw finesse jigs on this. There's a lot of things you can do, but for me, it's mainly a wacky rig rod. Another 3 power rod here, 723 Sobe series. So if you're a fan of Sam Sobe, another Velcro wrap on this thing. This one's hooked up with a shaky head, a little Bass Tech shaky head. So for me, this is a shaky head jig worm rod. That's mainly what it does. Nico, right? So if you're Texas rigging your Nikos, you go 3 power, you know, 2 power, or exposed Nico, you can go more 2 power. Again, bigger reels, the Ulstratic CI4, 4,000 size. This is a 7-foot 2-inch 3 power rod. This 3 power hits a little harder than some of the other 3 power. The Sobe's maybe like a half an action heavier than some of the other 3 powers. 3/16 to 5/8 ounce, medium fast action. It's that kind of a gold, bronzy, you know, smallmouth looking color scheme to the rod. Gold accents. Give you a little glimpse on how it loads into the blank. You'll notice that most of the Dobyns rods have a pretty moderate tip, but get into the backbone pretty good. I think that moderate tip is really good for keeping fish hooked and pinned during the fight. So again, 3 power rods for slightly medium wire hooks and like Texas rigged style baits. And so there are the 8 spinning rods that I carried with me in the boat for tournament tested situations all season long. Let the questions fly down in the comments. Love to hear them. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of these rod reveals and Arsenal reviews, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the notification button. You won't miss any more. If you want to see which other videos in the series you've missed, click on the playlist on the screen right here next.